Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Rochester, New York say that 2 men are in custody this week after they allegedly led police on a chase in a stolen vehicle that ended when they crashed into a school bus full of children. According to reports, the incident began at around 4 p.m. on March 15th when a 51-year-old woman was carjacked at knife point while leaving work in Rochester's Edgerton neighborhood. The victim's stolen red Jeep was spotted about an hour later by police who conducted a vehicle stop at North and Bernard Streets. However, after coming to a stop, the driver quickly reversed, slamming into a patrol car before speeding away. A chase then began. Police followed the stolen Jeep for a short time until it turned the wrong way down a side street. Seconds later, it collided head-on with a school bus at Roycroft and Carter Streets. Reports state that 17 children were on board the bus at the time. Though the 2 suspects inside the Jeep attempted to flee on foot following the crash, they were both quickly chased down and arrested by police. They have since been identified as 20-year-old Malik McCullough and 23-year-old Adelson Hughes. Thankfully, reports state that none of those on board the school bus were injured. The carjacking victim, meanwhile, was treated and is said to be recovering. According to reports, only McCullough was allegedly involved in the actual carjacking. He is now facing charges of first-degree robbery, second-degree assault, and third- and fourth-degree grand larceny, while Hughes has been charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
Authorities in Seattle, Washington say that a 63-year-old man is lucky to be alive this week after he was the victim of a harrowing kidnapping, one that came to an abrupt end when his attackers crashed his vehicle with him still inside. According to reports, the incident began just after 5 a.m. on March 16th when residents of Seattle's Ravenna neighborhood awoke to the sounds of screeching tires and a loud crash near Northeast 72nd Street and 27th Avenue Northeast. The noises were from a car which had just collided with a nearby house. Witnesses barely had time to react to the situation before they observed several unidentified suspects running from the scene. At the same time, the crashed car began to smoke and then burst into flames. As firefighters and police were called to the scene, the situation took another strange turn when a 63-year-old man scrambled out of the trunk of the flaming vehicle. The man was yelling for help and said that he had been the victim of a kidnapping. When investigators arrived at the scene, the 63-year-old explained that he had been attacked by a group of suspects, bound, and placed inside the trunk of his own vehicle. He had no idea who the attackers were. Though the victim had been beaten and had sustained cuts to his face allegedly inflicted with a knife, he was taken to a local hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The vehicle fire was also put out before it did too much damage to the house it had crashed into, and thankfully, none of those inside of the residence at the time appeared to have been injured. At the time of this recording, authorities are still searching for the suspects involved in the alleged kidnapping. One person, identified only as an 18-year-old male, was taken in for questioning after he was found to match the description of a possible suspect, though he was later released. Police say that they are looking for a total of between 2 and 4 suspects in all. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to contact the Seattle Police Department's Violent Crimes Tip Line.
Representatives from the Las Vegas Police Department say that a 33-year-old man is facing a number of charges this week after he allegedly smashed a woman's car up with an axe while her young child was inside. The situation began at around 4:20 p.m. on March 13th when police received a call about a dangerous incident unfolding at a local residence. The caller told them that her neighbor was attacking her vehicle with an axe. When officers arrived at the scene, they quickly spotted the vehicle in question, which had sustained serious damage. However, the actual incident appeared to be over. After speaking to the victim, an unidentified woman, police learned that the attack had allegedly been carried out by her neighbor, 33-year-old Christopher Vera. The woman explained that she had been in her garage preparing to go somewhere when she heard Vera yelling inside his house across the street and peering out his front window. The strange behavior had prompted her to try and pack up her vehicle faster. However, when she next turned around, Vera was striking her vehicle with an axe. Terrifyingly, the woman's young daughter was already inside the car by this time. The woman quickly pulled her child from the vehicle and went back inside, while Vera allegedly continued to take swings at the vehicle. When he was done, he apparently stole a box of clothing from inside the car before going back to his own house. Police next went to Vera's home where they confronted him. He was initially uncooperative, though was eventually taken into custody without significant issues. The 33-year-old is now facing several charges, including burglary of a motor vehicle, child abuse, injury to a vehicle and damage of more than $5,000, and assault. At the current time, no official motive has been released behind this strange and terrifying crime. However, at the time of his arrest, Vera reportedly claimed that he was rescuing the victim's child from the vehicle, indicating some sort of mental health issue might have been at play. The female victim says that neither she nor her child knew Vera prior to the attack, and that he was a complete stranger to them. The woman says she believes Vera would have killed them had they not ran back inside her home. At the time of this recording, the situation is still under investigation.
Authorities in Honolulu County, Hawaii say that a 25-year-old man is facing murder charges this week after he was spotted fleeing the scene of a burning vehicle where the body of a female soldier was found. The disturbing incident began at around 6:40 a.m. on March 13th when police received a call from concerned witnesses about a vehicle fire in the parking lot of a local high school in the city of Mililani. When officers arrived, they were told by multiple people that they had observed a man at the scene who had been opening and closing the vehicle's doors while it was on fire. The man had then fled on foot. Thanks to this information, authorities were able to track the male suspect down less than a mile away. At the time, he was in possession of a backpack with visible burn marks. One of his shoes was partially melted, and a strong odor of burning plastic was emanating from his person. That wasn't all, though. He also had a bladed weapon with him, and what looked like blood appeared to be on his ankle. He was placed under arrest and later identified as 25-year-old Samuel Jones. At roughly the same time that Jones was being placed under arrest, things took a chilling turn back at the crime scene. When firefighters extinguished the burning vehicle, they found the body of a young woman, later identified as 21-year-old La'au Jordan Lalusa. Further examination revealed that Jordan had been stabbed in the neck prior to the fire being started. Following the gruesome discovery, Jones was charged with second-degree murder and first-degree arson in connection with Jordan's death. While few additional details are available about the case at the current time, Jordan's family alleges that she was not in a relationship with Jones and that the pair had only recently met at a social gathering. According to reports, Jordan was a supply specialist in the Hawaii Army National Guard at the time of her death. She had joined in 2019, and her family states that she had big dreams and was looking forward to expanding her horizons and traveling with the military. At the time of this recording, the tragic murder is still under investigation.
Authorities in the city of Dyersburg, Tennessee, say that a 30-year-old man is facing charges this week after he allegedly kidnapped his girlfriend and subjected her to a nightmarish ordeal that lasted approximately 2 months. Police were first alerted to the incident at around 1:30 p.m. on March 11th when the victim, identified only as a 40-year-old woman, ran up to a man working on Schaefer Street and said she was in need of help. Chillingly, she stated that she had been kidnapped but had just managed to escape. The woman was emaciated, appearing to be less than 100 pounds, and had cuts to her face. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the woman hiding underneath a newly constructed house. That's when she revealed the horrifying details of her alleged kidnapping. The 40-year-old stated that she had been romantically involved with a 30-year-old man named Brenton Bell, but that the relationship had turned violent. Things had escalated until several weeks earlier, Bell had kidnapped her and taken her to an abandoned home on Ayers Street, approximately 2 blocks away from where she was found. The 40-year-old said that for 2 months she had been kept in a closet that had been locked with some sort of cable. During this time, she was given very little food and no bathroom, and was only allowed out for 1 hour a day. It's unclear how she was finally able to escape. Bell was tracked down and arrested on March 15th and is now facing charges of aggravated kidnapping. The victim, meanwhile, was taken to a local hospital for treatment and has since reportedly been released.
Representatives from the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority's Transit Police say that a 57-year-old Boston man is facing several charges this week after he allegedly made bizarre threats against fellow subway riders with his equally unusual choice of pet. The incident reportedly took place at around 4 p.m. on March 16th, when the suspect, later identified as 57-year-old Jeffrey Stewart, started yelling and threatening commuters at Oak Grove Station in the city of Malden. The bulk of these threats allegedly involved Stewart's pet rat, who he named Jerry, whom the 57-year-old was apparently waving in people's faces. After being told to leave the station, Stewart initially seemed to comply, though allegedly came back a short time later and tried to get back in. When police responded, Stewart apparently swore at them, then tried to threaten them with Jerry the rat as well. Stewart was then placed under arrest. According to reports, the 57-year-old is well known to police for causing disturbances on the subway system. At the time of his arrest this week, he was also allegedly in possession of an open bottle of vodka. He is now facing charges of disorderly conduct, trespassing, and threats to commit a crime. Jerry the rat, meanwhile, was turned over to animal control. This was reportedly distressing news to Stewart, whose attorney claims is concerned about his pet and wants him back.
Authorities in the city of Quincy, Illinois, said that a 39-year-old man is in custody this week after he was charged with the brutal murder of his estranged wife. The case began on the afternoon of February 23rd, when 41-year-old nurse and mother of three Rebecca Bleefnick failed to pick up her kids from school. Not long after, her body was tragically discovered in her Kentucky Road home. She had been shot several times. This week, local police announced that they had arrested and charged Rebecca's estranged husband, 39-year-old Tim Bleefnick, in connection with her murder. While little information has been released regarding evidence in the case, we know that the charges came following a search of Tim's home at the beginning of this month. At the time of Rebecca's murder, she and Tim had been going through a divorce. According to reports, they were married in 2009, but had been separated for several years, living in residences about a mile apart. Both had previously filed restraining orders against each other, though Rebecca reportedly filed hers first. At the same time, she also filed a restraining order against Tim's father. Following news of Tim's arrest, a video clip emerged of him that many feel has taken on haunting significance in light of the circumstances. The clip is from the long-running game show Family Feud, and is from a 2020 episode in which Tim, his parents, and siblings were featured on the show. When host Steve Harvey asked him, quote, "What's your biggest mistake you made at your wedding?" Tim replied, "Honey, I love you," before answering that his biggest mistake was saying, "I do." At the time of this recording, the 39-year-old remains in custody. He is now facing charges including first-degree murder and home invasion.
Authorities in Brevard County, Florida say that a 32-year-old man is facing numerous charges this week after he allegedly murdered his girlfriend and was caught by police while attempting to strategically dispose of her remains. The incident began on February 18th when the ex-husband of 44-year-old Nancy Howardy reported her missing to police in Indian Harbor Beach. The man told officers that he hadn't heard from Nancy since she failed to pick up their children from school 3 days earlier. After some investigation, authorities learned that Nancy had last been seen on February 15th at a gun club in the city of Palm Bay. A friend stated that she had told him she was supposed to meet up with her boyfriend, 32-year-old Daniel Stearns, the same day. When detectives interviewed Stearns, they were almost immediately suspicious of the information he provided and felt that he was trying to be deceptive. By this time, Nancy's abandoned car had been recovered, and police were beginning to suspect that she had been the victim of foul play. Authorities placed Stearns under 24-hour surveillance, following him as he left his home in the early morning hours of March 9th. The 32-year-old led them to an area of Palm Bay known as the Compound, where they allegedly observed him attempting to dispose of evidence. He was arrested, after which detectives say he gave a horrifying confession. According to reports, on February 15th, Nancy and Stearns got into a heated argument, during which Nancy was fatally shot. Stearns allegedly proceeded to dismember and burn the 44-year-old's remains over a period of days, which he then began to transport to the compound. Police say that there are at least 5 separate crime scenes that they are now investigating at the site. At the time of this recording, Stearns is now facing multiple charges, including second-degree murder, abuse of a dead human body, and tampering with evidence in a criminal proceeding. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a minute to thank our amazing supporters over on Patreon. As many of you are aware, Our situation on YouTube always seems to be a bit uncertain, but our patrons help to ensure that we can continue to make content like this long term without having to worry as much about what surprises might be thrown our way. Plus, patrons also get access to 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, head over to patreon.com/crimezone to join. You can also find that link in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care.